highly anticipated and incredibly thrilling action blockbuster is making a stunning and powerful entrance. This is a god-tier masterpiece by Tom Hardy. This film is written and directed by Gareth Evans, a master of violent aesthetics. The directly violent action scenes, along with the delicate expressions and body language, have been regarded by film critics as another evolution of acting skills. The film begins with a high speed and passionate police chase of criminals. The police are pursuing the masked robbers who are fleeing frantically. The masked robbers drive a heavy container at the speed of a sports car, and there is an accomplice hanging on the back door of the container. To save the accomplice, the female driver sharply turns the steering wheel, using inertia to throw the accomplice into the car. Then, seeing a police car trying to overtake, she makes a sharp turn and squeezes the police car onto the side road. After that, the masked robbers drive in the opposite direction and flee like mad. In order to get rid of the pursuit, the two masked robbers struggle to throw a washing machine at the police car. The huge impact is so sudden that the police car driver has no time to react. The windshield shatters instantly, and the police officer is left in a dying state. At this moment, the protagonist, Walker, still doesn't know that he will be drawn into a life and death situation. He is a detective. A failed mission led to the death of his partner, which plunged him into alcoholism. His relationship with his wife also broke down since then. He hasn't seen his daughter for a long time. He carefully selected a Christmas gift and intended to send it to his daughter. But his wife lied that their daughter had already fallen asleep, although he insisted on visiting his daughter. The police station informed him to rush to the accident scene at that time. This is his first police assignment with his new partner. Walker really doesn't want to be burdened with this hindrance. Soon they arrive at the scene. The whole hall is filled with corpses, and there is not a single survivor in the room. The drugs scattered on the table are mixed with blood. With his years of experience, Walker quickly reconstructs the scene of the crime in his mind. The attackers are well equipped and have an absolute advantage in firepower. His reconstruction of the scene almost completely matches the real situation. The masked robber, Charlie, and his girlfriend, Mia, enter the lair of the gangsters for a deal. When Ching goes out to smoke, he sees a suspicious van approaching. Shortly after, Ching receives a message telling him to leave immediately. Three heavily armed thugs wearing masks get out of the van with guns in their hands. Charlie's companion is terrified when he sees them. As soon as Ching enters the corridor, he runs into Mia. At this time, Mia also receives a call from her companion. At the scene, Ellie retrieves the surveillance footage from the back door. The sight of Charlie makes Walker's pupils shrink instantly, but he tells Ellie that there is another killer. The person in the picture is holding a pistol, but there are no pistol bullets left at the scene. Instead, there are all the casings of high-speed as all trifles. Then he asks Ellie to check the hospital and rushes to meet the mayoral candidate Lawrence. Without delay, Lawrence is shocked to see his son appear in the video. He doesn't believe that his son could have done such a thing. But Walker warns him that the Chinese gang will never let it go easily, in order not to affect the mayoral election. Lawrence asks Walker to help him solve the problem. Walker doesn't want to be involved in it. Lawrence then threatens Walker with his weakness, forcing him to rescue Charlie. Walker is forced to agree to help him one last time. After receiving the tragic news of her son's death, Sui, the leader of the Triad gang, immediately flies to New York. When she sees her son's body, she cries bitterly in grief. Then she finds Ching, executes all of Ching's subordinates, and orders Ching to find out the killer. On the other hand, based on the clues he has, Walker finds the doorman, Ah-Fai. Walker presses Ah-Fai to tell him who the killer is. Ah-Fai tells Walker that the killer is not Charlie but those masked people. Walker then rushes to the hospital to visit his seriously injured former partner, Cortez. His colleague, Vince, tells Walker that Charlie has been put on the wanted list. He swears to catch Charlie and avenge Cortez. Although Cortez didn't die, he has been in a coma. Cortez's wife tells Walker with tears streaming down her face that before being wheeled into the operating room last night, Cortez kept mumbling that the five of them had gotten themselves into big trouble, and his tone was full of regret and fear. Hearing these words, Walker recalls the events that happened in the Drug Enforcement Administration a year ago. At that time, their 5-man team sneaked into a drug den late at night, trying to steal the ill-gotten money. During the operation, they accidentally revealed their whereabouts. In a panic, Walker knocked down the man who had discovered them with a stick. They found a bug in his back, and it turned out that the man was an undercover police officer. Afraid that the truth would be revealed, they killed the dying undercover police officer on the spot. After this incident, Walker has been tormented by guilt in his heart and voluntarily applied to be transferred from the Drug Enforcement Administration to the Homicide Unit. On the other side, after Mia and Charlie escape from the bar, they come to the junkyard to seek the protection of Uncle Raul. Earl arranges for them to hide in a hidden safe house and promises to make a fake passport for Mia, telling her to wait for his call. The next day, Lawrence is blocked on his way to the airport. The triad directly finds Lawrence. The triad kills all of Lawrence's entourage and throws the phone to Lawrence.
I flew halfway across the world to identify my child. Now I'm coming for yours.
Walker follows the clues and chases to the junkyard. Walker warns Rawl that the entire underground forces in New York are hunting them down, and that he may be their only chance of survival. Under Walker's coercion and inducement, Rawl finally reveals Mia's whereabouts. Charlie's accomplice is now kneeling in front of Sui, trembling with fear. In order to save his own life, he offers to lead the way to find Mia. Mia receives a message to go to the Medusa Club at 9 p.m. to pick up the passport. Walker goes to the nightclub and finds Mia. Walker tries to persuade Mia to find Charlie, but Mia keeps her mouth shut. Just then, Mia sees the masked killer who killed Zhu Feng. When Mia is running away, she shoots off the gunman's mask and sees his face. Following her gaze, Walker sees that it is his colleague Vince, approaching. When Vince asks Walker for the person, a group of Triad gang members break into the nightclub. The gang members charge towards Mia's direction. Walker has no choice but to step in and protect Mia. Vince and the other two also join the fight. As the conflict escalates, the three forces engage in a fierce gun battle in the center of the dance floor. The nightclub door is smashed open again. Mia's uncle arrives at the scene with Charlie. Charlie is very resistant when he hears that Walker was sent by his father. Walker can only threaten Charlie by pressing a gun against Mia's throat. Looking at the continuous influx of Triad members into the nightclub, there is another chaotic fight. Walker seizes the opportunity and takes Charlie to escape from the side, but they are driven back by another group of Triad members. Rawl uses his body to block the door to protect Mia, buying precious escape time for everyone. After they rush out of the door, they are horrified to find that the whole street has turned into a battlefield. The Triad and the police who have rushed to the scene engage in a fierce firefight. The female killer recognizes them at a glance and immediately opens fire wildly. With the protagonist Sora, Walker and his group manage to escape successfully. Ellie, who arrives at the scene, receives Walker's distress call. Walker asks her to rush to the hospital immediately to protect Cortez. However, it's already too late. Jing has already arrived at the hospital ahead of time. From a secret conversation with Vince, the truth of the whole conspiracy comes to light. It turns out that after the previous leader of the Chinese gang passed away, Sui took over the power of the gang and sent her son to the United States to handle business. Ching, who was dissatisfied, thought that his nephew had taken the position that should have belonged to him, so he secretly colluded with Vince to set a trap. They not only killed Sui's son, but also framed Charlie for the crime. Jing was responsible for selling the stolen drugs, and they would split the ill-gotten money equally. However, Jing never expected that Vince would mess things up. In order to cover up the truth, he decided to eliminate all the people who knew the truth. The first target was Cortez. When Ellie arrives at the hospital, she goes to the front desk to inquire about Cortez's ward. She sees Ching taking out a pistol on the surveillance camera, so she asks the nurse to call the security guards. But it's all too late. After Ellie arrives, Cortez's wife, Angie, is taken hostage by Ching. Then Ching pushes Angie towards Ellie and fires several shots before fleeing. The two of them engage in a fierce gun battle in the dimly lit escape passage. Finally, Ellie subdues Ching with her accurate marksmanship and extracts the shocking truth from his mouth. Since she can't get in touch with Walker all the time, Ellie decides to investigate on her own. She uses Ching to lure Vince and the other person to the transaction site. When Vince is about to trade the drugs with Ching, Ellie suddenly appears from the shadows, pointing a shotgun at the two of them. On the other side, Walker takes Mia and Charlie to a hidden cabin and calls Lawrence. Not getting a response, Walker realizes that something is wrong. After getting his equipment ready, he walks towards the door and sees Charlie and the other person preparing to leave. Just as the two are in a standoff, the sound of an engine roars in the distance. Intense gunfire is aimed at the three of them. The three of them hastily retreat into the cabin to find weapons to fight back. At this time, the small wooden cabin has been riddled with bullets. Charlie and Mia are outnumbered and are forcefully dragged out of the cabin. Walker is also tightly entangled by the female killer. Walker is beaten black and blue. Suddenly, Walker pulls out a harpoon gun. and shoots through the female killer's head at close range. Outside, Sui arrives at the scene with Lawrence in custody. Sui can't contain her grief over the loss of her son, and forces Lawrence to execute his own son with his own hands. Lawrence's face is filled with pain and struggle, and his hands keep shaking. At this critical moment, Ellie arrives in time, escorting Ching and Vince. She exposes the truth of the whole conspiracy in public. Sui stares at Ching furiously, her eyes full of murderous intent. Seeing the situation is not good, Vince creates chaos and tries to escape. In order to protect his son, Lawrence doesn't hesitate to step forward and use his body to block the bullets aimed at his son. In the chaos, Ching shoots and kills Sui. Vince opens fire and kills Ching. Finally, Vince escapes from the scene with the drugs. How could Walker let him get away with it? He limps after him. Ellie engages in a life minus and minus death battle with Vince's accomplice. Ellie runs out of bullets. At a critical moment, Charlie suddenly appears and avenges his father's death. Vince stumbles to the side of the railway track. Just as he is trying to climb onto a passing train, Walker, who has been in hot pursuit, decisively shoots. Who is shot and falls to the ground, suddenly changes his tone to one of pleading. He mentions the past relationship between the two of them and begs Walker to spare his life. Just as Walker hesitates, Vince pulls out a pistol and makes a sneak attack. Walker reacts quickly and fires several shots, killing him. After that, Walker confesses to Ellie his crime of participating in the black minus market deal in the past, his eyes full of guilt and regret. At the same time, he also removes the burden that has been weighing on his heart for years. In the film, Lawrence sacrifices his family for his political ambition. Walker compromises his principles for survival. Sui, the female leader of the triad, also loses her mind in the pursuit of revenge for her family. This setting of all villains breaks the traditional to minus-sided opposition between the police and the criminals.